Elena studied the silver-skinned being as it addressed the hastily assembled United Nations Emergency Council. Carrick stood nearly 8 feet tall, with proportions just slightly off from human. Longer fingers, a neck too flexible, eyes too large, and luminous. His voice resonated with perfect clarity, requiring no microphone despite the cavernous chamber. "Your species has great potential," Carrick continued, gesturing with fluid grace. "However, your self-destructive tendencies necessitate intervention. The custodians will guide Earth toward optimal functioning." The Secretary General leaned forward. "And if we decline your guidance?" Carrick tilted his head at a precise 45-degree angle. "Declining optimization is illogical. We have disabled your weapons as a demonstration of our capabilities. Resistance would be—" He paused, searching for the word. "Inefficient." From her position 3 rows back, Elena noticed something peculiar. The alien speech patterns contained perfect grammar but lacked any idioms, metaphors, or humor. In fact, all 6 custodians present maintained the same rigid posture, their faces showing no emotion whatsoever. The Russian ambassador whispered something to his aide, who stifled a laugh. Immediately, all custodians turned in perfect unison, their large eyes focusing on the source of the sound. The movement was so synchronized it sent a chill down Elena's spine. After the session, Elena approached Dr. James Wu, the chief science advisor. "Did you notice how they reacted to laughter?" she asked quietly as they walked through the UN corridors. "I noticed they don't seem to have any understanding of social cues," Wu replied. "Their technology is centuries beyond ours, but their interpersonal skills are practically non-existent." Elena nodded, almost like they've never encountered humor before. When Ambassador Petrov made that joke, they looked, she searched for the right word. Confused, maybe even uncomfortable. "Dr. Sharma," a voice called from behind them. Elena turned to find General Harrington approaching, his expression grim. "You've been selected for the diplomatic team. Your background in xenolinguistics makes you uniquely qualified." He handed her a tablet. "Wheels up in 3 hours." "That's hardly enough time to pack," Elena replied. The general didn't smile. "The custodians have established their primary base at the former Denver International Airport. Pack for cold weather." Within hours, Elena found herself aboard a military transport with 15 other specialists, linguists, anthropologists, physicists, and military personnel. Dr. Wu sat beside her, reviewing data on the 7 obsidian spheres still hovering over major cities. "These vessels defy our understanding of physics," he murmured. "They generate no heat signature, no radiation, no electromagnetic fields we can detect. It's as if they're partially in another dimension." "What concerns me," Elena replied, "is why such an advanced species would even bother with us. What do they really want?" As the plane began its descent into Denver, Elena observed the massive obsidian sphere looming above the Rocky Mountains. Unlike natural black, this was an absence, a perfect void against the blue sky. Surrounding it, pristine crystalline structures had already replaced the airport terminals, geometric patterns glowing with internal light. "They've been here 3 days and they've already rebuilt an entire airport," someone whispered in awe. "And disabled every weapon on Earth," General Harrington added grimly. "Remember that when you smile and shake their 2 long hands." Elena clutched her notebook tightly. As a xenolinguist, she'd spent her career preparing for first contact. But nothing had prepared her for beings who could reshape reality while apparently lacking any understanding of human emotions. As the plane touched down, she made a quick note in the margin of her briefing documents. "They don't laugh." Why? It seemed insignificant compared to their technological prowess, but something told Elena this observation might matter more than anyone realized. The crystal communication device, or harmony terminal as the custodians called it, materialized on Elena's nightstand exactly 3 weeks after their arrival. Similar devices appeared simultaneously in homes worldwide, their surfaces cool to the touch and inscribed with flowing symbols that shifted under her fingertips. "Today's optimal activities have been customized for your biometric profile," announced the device in a pleasant, genderless voice. Morning nutrition recommendation: protein-based sustenance with calculated mineral supplementation. Intellectual stimulation period scheduled from 0900 to 12:30. Physical optimization from 1400 to 15:30. Elena sighed, placing the device face down on her desk. The custodian's optimization of daily life had begun gradually but was now accelerating. Streets were cleaner, air quality had improved dramatically, and global markets had stabilized under their guidance. But at what cost? At the newly established Harmonization Center downtown, Elena passed through security scans that measured not just weapons but emotional states. The custodians had developed technology that could detect excessive emotional fluctuation, their term for everything from anger to excitement to humor. Dr. Sharma acknowledged the silver-skinned attendant as she entered the advisory council chamber. Your cortisol levels exceed optimal parameters by 7%. Would you like nutritional supplementation? No thank you, Nexel, she replied, recognizing the younger custodian assigned to human relations. Just human variance within normal range. Inside, representatives from former nation-states, now redesignated as regional optimization zones, sat around a circular table with custodians interspersed among them. Carrick stood at the center, manipulating a three-dimensional hologram showing Earth's resource distribution networks. Agricultural productivity has increased 27% under directive implementation, he stated. Atmospheric carbon reduction proceeds at optimal pace. Human compliance with daily optimization guidelines has reached 74%. Ambassador Chen from the East Asian zone raised his hand. While we appreciate the environmental improvements, there are cultural concerns about the restrictions on festivals, musical gatherings, and artistic expression. Carrick's expression remained unchanged. Cultural activities with demonstrable benefits to social cohesion are permitted. Activities promoting emotional irregularity and unpredictable behavior patterns disrupt optimization. So, poetry is inefficient? Asked the European representative dryly. Mozart was a waste of resources? Comedy clubs were pointless? The room tensed as Carrick studied her for several uncomfortable seconds. Correct. Resources previously allocated to entertainment industries have been redirected to medical research, resulting in cures for 17 previously terminal conditions. The South American representative, a normally diplomatic man with impressive patience, finally broke. And I suppose birthdays are inefficient too? My daughter turned 6 yesterday, and your regulations prevented her from having a party with her friends. For efficiency. Children require socialization for proper development, Carrick responded. However, the emotional overstimulation of traditional birthday rituals serves no developmental purpose. The certification of aging occurs regardless of celebration. For the love of... The representative threw up his hands. Do you hear yourselves? Next, you'll ban laughter as an inefficient use of facial muscles. A ripple passed through every custodian in the room simultaneously, a subtle but noticeable shudder. Carrick's perfect posture faltered momentarily, his silver skin briefly rippling, with an almost wave-like pattern. The hologram flickered, destabilizing for precisely 2.7 seconds before resuming normal operation. This session will conclude early due to atmospheric interference, Carrick announced abruptly. Tomorrow's optimization agenda will be transmitted to your Harmony terminals. As the council dispersed, Elena lingered, watching the custodians confer in their silent, telepathic manner. That momentary disruption had been triggered by the mention of laughter. The same reaction she'd documented 7 times now in her secret observations. That night, Elena activated her personal tablet, a non-custodian device she kept hidden in a signal-blocking case, and added to her growing file. Physical reaction to mention of humor. Possible neurological connection. She encrypted the file and hid it among thousands of linguistic research documents. If laughter truly disturbed these cosmic overlords, humanity might have stumbled upon something far more valuable than any weapon. The abandoned subway maintenance tunnel smelled of mildew and rusted metal, but it provided something increasingly rare on Earth: privacy from custodian surveillance. Elena squeezed past a partially collapsed section, following the beam of her flashlight to where Marcus and Zoe waited beside improvised laboratory equipment. "Did you bring it?" Marcus asked, his voice hushed despite being 30 meters underground. Elena nodded, removing a small vial from her jacket. "Custodian tissue, sample." Nexel brushed against a doorframe and left this behind. She handed the silvery flake to Marcus. "Almost like dead skin, but it has unusual properties." It continued to react to stimuli for nearly 7 minutes after detachment. Marcus placed the sample under a modified microscope, cobbled together from medical equipment smuggled from various hospitals. "Extraordinary," he whispered. "The cellular structure is like nothing I've seen. The equivalent of neurons, but they're arranged in perfect geometrical patterns." Zoe, wearing the gray service uniform of custodian facility workers, studied the neurological data displayed on Marcus's tablet. Once the world's most celebrated comedian, she'd been reduced to serving nutrient solutions to aliens who had banned her profession. "Their brains are like computers," she observed. "Everything organized in perfect linear pathways." "Exactly," Elena agreed. "And what's the fundamental nature of humor?" "The unexpected connection between unrelated concepts," Zoe replied immediately. "The subversion of expectations, the cognitive leap from one frame of reference to another." Marcus looked up from the microscope. "And their neural pathways physically can't make those leaps. They evolved for perfect linearity, perfect order." Elena nodded excitedly. "Yesterday I conducted another test. During my scheduled interface with Carix, I deliberately misinterpreted an instruction as an innuendo. Nothing vulgar, just a subtle, double meaning." His skin did that rippling thing again, and he excused himself for 3.2 minutes. "I've been compiling all our observations," Marcus said, pulling up a complex chart. "Their reactions vary based on humor type. Wordplay causes minimal disruption. Observational humor, moderate effect. Absurdist or paradoxical humor, severe reaction. It's like watching someone's brain short-circuit." Zoe grinned, a glint of her former mischievous self returning. "So basically, I'm a weapon of mass disruption?" Despite the gravity of their situation, all three chuckled, a sound that had become rare in the optimized world above. "There's more," Elena said, her expression turning serious. "They've announced the Cultural Integration Program. 12 humans selected to visit their homeworld for what they're calling mutual understanding enhancement. I've been chosen." "That's too dangerous," Marcus protested. "If they discover your research." "It's our only chance to learn more about them," Elena countered. "Their ships, their central consciousness, their weaknesses. Besides, I've been careful. My official research focuses solely on improving communication efficiency between our species." Zoe reached into her bag, extracting a small, nondescript data chip. "Take this with you. It contains my entire comedy catalog, everything from my mild observational stuff to my most experimental absurdist pieces. If you find an opportunity," Elena studied the chip, "you realize what you're suggesting is essentially a neurological attack. Consider it cultural exchange," Zoe replied with a wink. "Just sharing the human gift of laughter." As they packed up their equipment, a distant rumble vibrated through the tunnel, another custodian construction project reshaping the city above. "The selection ceremony is tomorrow," Elena said quietly. "If I'm not back in 2 months, implement Operation Punchline without me." "And if you are back?" Marcus asked. Elena slipped the comedy chip into a hidden compartment in her linguist's reference device. "Then we'll know exactly where to aim our jokes." Elena stood at the viewport of the custodian vessel, watching Earth shrink to a blue marble, and then to a distant point of light. The ship moved through space in ways that defied human understanding, not so much traveling through the void as folding it around itself. The 11 other humans selected for the Cultural Integration Program kept to themselves, each processing the overwhelming experience in their own way. "Approach phase initiating," announced a disembodied voice. "Please prepare for atmospheric entry." The custodian homeworld came into view, and Elena struggled to comprehend what she was seeing. The planet appeared to shimmer, its surface covered with structures that sometimes seemed solid and sometimes transparent, as if existing in multiple states simultaneously. Vast geometric patterns covered entire continents, visible even from orbit. "Remarkable, isn't it?" said a voice beside her. Elena turned to find an older man with kind eyes and a physicist's credentials on his uniform. "Dr. Sanjay Krishnan," he introduced himself. "Theoretical Physics, Cambridge." "Elena Sharma, Xenolinguistics." "I've been studying the propulsion system," he whispered, glancing around to ensure no custodians were nearby. "It operates on principles we've only theorized about, manipulating quantum states to create localized space-time distortions." The ship descended through pearlescent clouds toward a city that defied Euclidean geometry. Structures resembled crystals, grown to impossible proportions, intersecting and overlapping in patterns that seemed to repeat infinitely. "The perfect mathematical city," Sanjay murmured. "No randomness, no chaos, no organic growth." As they disembarked, Elena noted the absence of anything resembling art or decoration. Every element served a function. Nothing existed merely to please the eye or express individuality. Custodians moved through the city in perfect coordination, their actions synchronized with machine-like precision. Their human delegation was led to a crystalline structure where they were assigned individual quarters. After a formal welcome from planetary administrators, indistinguishable from their Earth counterparts except for subtle differences in their silver markings, the humans were left alone to acclimate to optimal environmental conditions. Elena waited until the monitoring lights in her quarters dimmed for the night cycle, before retrieving her hidden communication device. Using techniques Marcus had developed to bypass custodian surveillance, she established a brief, encrypted connection to a relay satellite the Resistance had secretly launched before the invasion. "Initial observations confirm suspicions," she typed. "Their society demonstrates perfect order but no creativity. We'll attempt to access central archives tomorrow." The next morning, Elena joined the other humans for orientation. Their guide, a custodian named Lyrics, led them through vast halls filled with representatives of other species, all moving with the same uniform precision as their overseers. "You will observe 17 successful integration examples," Lyrics explained. "Each species has been optimized according to their biological parameters." Elena studied these other beings closely, avian creatures with 4 wings, crystalline entities that floated rather than walked, beings resembling enormous jellyfish suspended in atmospheric containment fields. Despite their physical differences, they all shared the same flat affect and methodical movements as the custodians. During a designated nutrition period, Elena managed to separate from the group, approaching one of the jellyfish-like beings as it consumed mineral solutions through a specialized apparatus. "How long has your species been part of the collective?" she asked quietly. The creature's translucent tissues pulsed with bioluminescent patterns. 372 cycles, it replied in perfect accentless English. "We are most fortunate." "And what was your culture like before optimization?" The creature paused, its lights dimming slightly. "Irrelevant inquiry. Past inefficiencies have been corrected." "Do you ever miss those inefficiencies?" Elena pressed. "Your original art? Your music? Your humor?" The being's tissues flashed rapidly, a pattern Elena couldn't interpret. After a moment of silence, it leaned closer, its voice dropping to a barely audible level. "They don't just want your planet," it whispered. "They want what makes you human." Back on Earth, Marcus received Elena's encrypted transmission while huddled in the basement of what had once been the Metropolitan Museum of Art. Most of the exhibits had been removed for efficiency evaluation, but the building's thick walls provided reasonable shielding from custodian sensors. "She's confirmed our theory," he told the assembled resistance leaders. "The custodians fear our creativity because they can't replicate it. They want to harvest it while eliminating its source." Zoe studied the crude map spread across a maintenance table. "We've identified 37 primary custodian installations across North America. Each contains a relay node connected to their collective consciousness." She pointed to red circles marking various cities. "We have comedy cells ready in each location." "Comedy cells," repeated General Harrington with a grimace. Never thought I'd hear those words in a military briefing. We've tested different approaches on individual custodians, Marcus explained, projecting data onto a makeshift screen. Stand-up routines performed near their installations cause localized disruptions. Surrealist art displayed in public spaces creates navigation errors in their patrol units. But most effective are paradoxical statements and absurdist humor delivered directly into their communication channels. A former software engineer raised her hand. We've analyzed the frequency, patterns used in their broadcasts. With the right equipment, we could potentially hijack their network for approximately 40 seconds before their security protocols adapt. 40 seconds isn't much, the general observed. It's enough, Zoe replied, with determination. I've prepared material specifically designed to create maximum neural disruption, paradoxes layered with absurdist punchlines, delivered in rapid succession. The operation began the following morning. In Chicago, a street performer appeared near a custodian monitoring station, delivering deadpan one-liners to passers-by. The silver-skinned observers initially ignored him, but as his jokes grew more absurd, their movements became visibly uncoordinated. One tilted its head at an impossible angle. Another's skin rippled with interference patterns. Similar incidents occurred simultaneously across the globe. In Tokyo, surrealist murals appeared overnight on crystal structures. In London, paradoxical poetry was broadcast through rogue frequency channels. In Rio, dancers performed routines that deliberately violated mathematical patterns the custodians found pleasing. Each incident seemed minor, but collectively they created cascading disruptions in the alien network. Reports flowed into resistance headquarters. Custodian ships temporarily losing their perfect formation, crystal structures developing hairline fractures, scheduled optimizations delayed or abandoned. Meanwhile, on the custodian homeworld, Elena gained access to their central archives through her official research role. The vast chamber housed a biological supercomputer, unlike anything humans had imagined. Living tissue arranged in crystalline patterns, processing information through light pulses rather than electricity. Under the guise of studying custodian linguistic patterns, Elena discovered historical records dating back millennia. She pieced together their civilization's evolution, a species that had nearly destroyed itself through unchecked technological advancement, survived only by eliminating the chaotic elements of their nature. They'd created a hive mind incapable of the unpredictability that had nearly led to extinction, but in doing so, had lost innovation and creativity. They've reached evolutionary stagnation, she recorded in her hidden device. Despite their advanced technology, they haven't developed anything truly new in over 1,000 years. They harvest creative species, trying to incorporate our imagination without our chaos. During her assigned rest period, Elena made contact with a young custodian named Nexil, assigned to monitor human adaptation. Unlike the others, Nexil displayed unusual curiosity about human culture. Your species creates without purpose, Nexil observed. Objects with no function, sounds arranged for aesthetic value rather than communication efficiency. We call that art, Elena explained. And music. Inefficient, Nexil stated. But Elena noticed something different in the young alien's tone. Not dismissal, but fascination. Would you like to learn more about human culture? Elena asked carefully, her hand resting on the hidden pocket containing Zoe's comedy recordings. There's an aspect of human expression you might find educational. Elena's quarters had become a clandestine cultural salon. During designated research periods, she invited young custodians like Nexil under the pretense of human behavioral studies. What began with simple poetry readings had progressed to music appreciation, and most recently, cautious exposure to gentle humor. I still do not understand why the chicken's road-crossing motivations are relevant, Nexil said, head tilted in that characteristic way that indicated cognitive processing difficulty. The humor lies in the expectation of a complex answer, followed by the delivery of something obvious, Elena explained patiently. The contrast creates a mental leap that humans find amusing. A deliberate cognitive misdirection, observed another young custodian named Viren. Fascinating. Elena watched with scientific interest as ripples of discomfort passed across their silver skin, but these younger custodians recovered more quickly than their elders. Their neural pathways, not yet fully crystallized into perfect linearity, retained some adaptability. Meanwhile, on Earth, Operation Punchline advanced to its next phase. Marcus and Zoe had infiltrated the global communication hub in former Tokyo, a crystalline spire that coordinated all custodian broadcasts. They moved through maintenance passages, disguised as service workers, carrying equipment disguised as cleaning supplies. Security protocols will lock us out in exactly 47 seconds once we initiate, warned the Resistance tech specialist accompanying them. The broadcast needs to be continuous for maximum effect. Zoe nodded, her eyes reflecting the determination that had replaced her former easygoing nature. I've been preparing for this performance my entire life. Never thought my audience would be a planet-wide alien neural network, but hey, comedians play tough rooms all the time. They reached the central transmission chamber, a vast spherical space where light pulses carried information through crystalline conduits. The tech specialist connected their equipment to an access port, fingers flying across the interface. "Ready on your mark," she whispered. "The custodians are about to begin their daily planetary address." Across Earth, humans paused as their Harmony terminals activated for the mandatory viewing. Carrick's impassive face appeared, flanked by administrative custodians. "Optimization Phase 3 commences today," he announced. "Human genetic scanning will identify individuals with ideal cognitive patterns for preservation. Those displaying excessive emotional variability will receive neural recalibration to—" The transmission stuttered, Carrick's image fragmenting momentarily before being replaced by Zoe's face. "Ladies, gentlemen, and cosmic overlords," she began, without preamble. "Have you ever noticed how some species are so uptight they can't take a joke?" What followed was a masterpiece of cognitive disruption. Rapid-fire wordplay transitioning into paradoxical observations, absurdist scenarios building to punchlines that connected seemingly unrelated concepts in ways that violated linear logic. Zoe delivered her performance with the precision of a neurosurgeon, each joke specifically calibrated to disrupt custodian neural patterns. Across the planet, the effect was immediate. The custodian's perfect synchronization faltered. Silver-skinned, figures froze mid-motion or moved in jerky, uncoordinated patterns. Crystal structures developed hairline fractures, spreading like ice breaking on a spring lake. Ships that had maintained perfect geometric formations for months suddenly drifted from position. For 17 precious minutes, humanity witnessed the unthinkable, custodian confusion. In his command center, Carrick's experienced something unprecedented, cognitive dissonance. Error messages cascaded through his neural network as Zoe's paradoxes created processing loops his linear mind couldn't resolve. With supreme effort, he severed the connection, but the damage was spreading through their collective consciousness. "Implement containment protocol," he ordered, his usually perfect diction faltering. "Begin immediate purge of all human entertainment archives. Accelerate protocol equilibrium." He turned to his second-in-command. "Recall all cultural integration program participants. Earth requires immediate restructuring." On the custodian homeworld, Elena received the recall order with alarm. Through her underground network, she learned the terrible truth of protocol equilibrium. Not merely human subjugation, but selective preservation of only the most logical, least creative individuals. The complete extinction of human unpredictability. As she prepared for emergency departure, Nexel appeared at her quarters. "You must take this," the young custodian said, extending a crystal data storage device. "I have accessed the central consciousness. The coordinates for protocol equilibrium implementation are contained within." Elena watched Earth grow larger through the viewport, her heart sinking at the sight of the custodian armada, assembling in perfect geometric patterns around her home planet. The massive obsidian spheres had multiplied, 17 now instead of the original 7, positioned at precise mathematical intervals. "Phase 1 of protocol equilibrium has commenced," announced the ship's communication system. All human assets will report for evaluation upon arrival. Clutching the crystal, data device Nexel had given her, Elena retreated to her private quarters. The other returning humans wore expressions of defeat, unaware of the Resistance's temporary victory or the terrible retribution now planned. Her encrypted communicator vibrated with an incoming transmission. Marcus had managed to establish a brief connection. The situation is deteriorating rapidly, his message read. Mass detentions across all continents. They're targeting artists, writers, musicians first. Zoe's been taken. We have less than 12 hours before they begin neural processing. Elena studied the data Nexel had provided. The young custodian had included not just protocol equilibrium coordinates, but details on the custodian neural network architecture. Most crucially, it contained access codes to the emergency broadcast system, designed to reach not just Earth, but the entire custodian collective consciousness simultaneously. I need to speak with you and Zoe immediately upon landing, she replied to Marcus. I have something that might work, but we'll only get one chance. The transport ship docked at the Denver installation, now expanded into a massive processing center. Elena slipped away during the disembarkation confusion, using Nexel's access codes to navigate through restricted areas. She found Marcus hiding in an abandoned maintenance shaft. They're holding Zoe in the central evaluation chamber, he whispered, his face gaunt from weeks of underground resistance. They're studying her brain patterns, trying to understand how she creates humor before they eliminate her capability. Perfect, Elena said grimly. That's exactly where we need her to be. She explained the desperate plan as they moved through the facility's shadow zones, areas where surveillance was minimal due to interference from the massive energy generators. We won't be able to broadcast for long, Marcus warned. They'll adapt to our intrusion within minutes. We don't need long, Elena replied. Just enough time for what Zoe calls the ultimate joke. Using Nexel's access codes, they reached the central communication hub adjacent to the evaluation chamber. Through the transparent barrier, they could see Zoe connected to custodian analysis equipment, silver-skinned figures studying her neural activity with cold precision. Can you hear me? Elena transmitted through the system. Zoe's eyes opened. Finding Elena through the barrier, she nodded almost imperceptibly. They're monitoring your brain, trying to understand humor, Elena continued. We're going to give them more than they bargained for. Marcus connected Nexel's crystal to the broadcast system, rapidly implementing the transmission protocols. Ready on your signal. This will reach every custodian on Earth and their homeworld, simultaneously. Elena passed a data tablet to Zoe through a specimen delivery port. This contains what we've learned about their neural architecture, combined with your comedy expertise. You'll have approximately 90 seconds to deliver what we're calling the ultimate joke, a cognitive bomb designed specifically for their linear thinking. Zoe scanned the information, her eyes widening with understanding. A slow smile spread across her face, the first genuine one Elena had seen in months. So I finally get to kill them with laughter, she said. Every comedian's dream. As alarms began blaring through the facility, Marcus activated the hijacked broadcast system. Transmission active in 3, 2, 1. Across Earth and throughout the custodian fleet, every communication device, every harmony terminal, every neural interface suddenly displayed Zoe's face. On their homeworld, the central consciousness itself experienced the unprecedented intrusion. Attention, all perfect minds, Zoe began, her voice calm but resonant with purpose. Let me tell you about a chicken, a rabbi, and Schrodinger's cat who walk into a paradox.